How to make a driftwood-mounted porthole picture frame. Now, this particular project started when my nephew Donovan found a little cabin cruiser wreck down in the Keys. He recovered some artifacts, including 4 small brass portholes, which he sent me. My original thought was going to be to make clocks out of them, but they're so small I decided to make picture frames, and I figured it would be cool to mount them on driftwood. Now, I found this driftwood out in the marsh. I hosed it off, then dried it completely. These portholes have a little flange on the bottom. So instead of cutting a hole through each piece of wood to mount the porthole, what I really want to do is just router out a circle. So I started just by making a template. This is just slightly larger than the flange, so that the porthole will fit easily into the routed out wood. I marked that on each small piece of driftwood. These are kind of driftwood planks. And then I used a router set to just a little bit deeper than the depth of that flange, so that it would also accommodate a piece of plexiglass that I'll install, as well as the photograph itself. So because this wood is not really flat, you have to be a little bit careful with the router. It's not like you're working on quality wood here. But you want to router out a circle so that the porthole itself sits flat against the driftwood. The next step is just going to be to cut out a circular piece of plexiglass. I used a Dremel grinder for this. Very easy project. Doesn't take long at all. You can just cut it on top of a piece of wood, or in this case I used a piece of cardboard. I'm going to attach the porthole to the driftwood just with a brass bolt and what they call a T-nut, which kind of grabs onto the back of the wood and doesn't protrude very far. I just drilled 2 holes. And I'm going to actually make 3 of these. This is just the first one. On 2 of them, the wood is not quite as wide as the porthole, and the other one, the wood is wider than the porthole. I'm going to use a little clear silicone. I'm just going to put a bead right along the outside perimeter, and that's going to secure the plexiglass down to the wood. And what I did was I pre-taped the photograph to the plexiglass just with a little Scotch tape, exactly where I wanted it. And then I'm going to press that down into the clear silicone. Then I'll mount the porthole with those 2 holes that I drilled. The bolts that I have were a little bit long, so I will cut those off. You can see the T-nut there just bit right into the wood. I added some mounting hardware, which I'll put a wire across in order to mount this to the wall. And then I am going to touch the 2 edges that aren't covered by wood. I'm going to seal them up with silicone, just so that I don't get dust in between the plexiglass and the picture, years down the line. So I'll just put a little bit of silicone there just to seal up that edge. Just one more tidbit. I went to my friend's boatyard and I got a couple of old barnacles, and I ended up just gluing those on right to the porthole itself, just to give it, a little bit more of a nautical or coastal flair. And then this is the finished product. So it's a brass porthole recovered from a little cabin cruiser wreck, mounted on a piece of driftwood. A nice piece of coastal decor. Thank you very much for watching.